Hi students, Mrs. Jarvis here. Today we're going to talk about percents with proportions. We are going to be using proportions to solve problems involving percent. Now, this is the way that I'm going to ask that you're going to set up your proportion. Now, your percents are always going to be out of 100, and that's because all percents have a denominator of 100. Now, on the other side is going to be your ratio, part to whole. Now, part to whole is just like a normal fraction. For example, if you looked at this pizza pie and I said that you ate 1 out of the 4 pieces, this is the part. 1 is part of the pizza, but 4 represents the whole pizza. 1 is, so that word is a key word. 1 is part of the 4 slices. 1 of the 4 slices was eaten. Now, is and of you may see in some of your word problems, and they are generally keywords to help you notice that is usually represents the part and of usually represents the whole. But make sure that you read the problems carefully so that you understand which part is representing the piece and which one is representing the whole. Now we're going to start with an example here. 12 is 25% of what number? I'm going to start by setting up my proportion. I know 100 will be in my denominator, and 25 will be on top as my numerator because this says 25%. Now it says 12 is, let's see, is represents part. And it looks like I'm looking for of what. So I don't know the whole. That's what I'm looking for. Now, I can solve this proportion 2 different ways, and I'm going to show you both ways. First, I could solve this proportion by always simplifying first. 25 over 100 simplifies to 1/4. I divided by 25 to do that. Now that I've simplified, I can always cross multiply. I can always cross multiply and divide by the remaining number. So 12 times 4, I end up with 48. My solution is that 12 is 25% of 48. My answer would be 48. Now, the next thing that I'm going to point out is that the other way you could have solved this, once you simplified to 1/4 is equal to 12 over your question mark, you could say, how did you get from 1 to 12? Well, you multiplied by 12. If you did that in the numerator, in order to keep them equivalent, you would need to do that in the denominator as well. So 4 times 12 should give you your solution. What's my answer? It's 48. And that's exactly what I got before. So whether you're noticing the relationship and you're multiplying by the same number, or whether you're cross-multiplying and dividing by what's left over, you're still going to get 48. Once again, always, always, always simplify first. All right, what percent of 40 is 8? Let's take a look. I'm looking for my percent. It says of 40 is 8. So is going to go on top, and 40 will go in the bottom. Now I'm looking at 8 over 40, and I'm thinking, I think I can simplify. Let's divide by 8 to simplify. 8 goes into itself once and into 40 5 times. Now that I've simplified, I can use the same trick that I used here and cross multiply and then divide. 100 times 1 gives me 100. And 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. So I know that my answer will be 20. Now, the other way that I could have solved it, once I simplified, is I could have said, let's see, what's the relationship between 5 and 100? Well, I can get back to 100 by multiplying by a 20. So, let's see, what is 1 times 20? That should give me my answer. And it does. It gives me 20. So, as you can see, whether you're looking at the relationship or whether you're cross-multiplying and dividing by what's left over, you're going to get the same answer. 20 is the percent of 40, that is 8. So your answer is 20%. Now, let's look at this last example. What is 20% of 60? I'm given my percent, and I see that it says of 60. 60 must be my whole. I'm looking for the part. So, I could go ahead and simplify. Since both of these have a 0 on the end, I could divide by 10 by knocking off a 0, and that gives me 2/10. I could simplify even further, but I happen to notice that to get from 10 to 60, I could multiply by 6. Now, if I do that on the denominator, I can do that on the numerator. 2 times 6 gives me 12. That's going to be my answer. 12 is 20% of 60. Now, let's test it out the other way by cross-multiplying and dividing to see if we get it right. 20 over 100 is what over 60? Go ahead and simplify. 2/10 can go even further to 1/5. Now, if I cross-multiply 60 times 1, I get 60, and 60 divided by 5 is going to give me 12. So, I get 12 when I do it that way as well. So, as you can see, you can solve either way. You can either find the relationship or cross-multiply and divide by what's left over. But always simplify first. Now, last one that I'm going to look at with you is a word problem. In a survey of 46 people, which was 20% of those surveyed, chose red as their favorite color. How many people were surveyed? Now, it's very important that you set this up properly. I see a percent, so I know it's going to go here. Now, the next thing I see is that it says 46 people, which was 20%. Now, it says down here how many people were surveyed. It sounds like they're looking for the total. If they're looking for the total, that's the denominator that they're looking for. 46 is the part. It represents the 20%. I don't know the total, so that's what I'm looking for. I can go ahead and simplify here, dividing by 10, which brings it down to 2/10. And actually, I see a relationship here. To get from 2 to 46, I can multiply by 23. So 10 times 23 gives me 230. 230 is going to be my solution. However, I can go ahead and finish solving just to prove it and make sure that we're correct. 2 over 10 simplifies to 1/5. Now, I could cross multiply and divide by my 1 that's left over. So 46 times 5 gives me 230. So that's my solution. I hope this video has been helpful today. And remember, if you have any questions about percent, please ask your teacher.